Hmm. Well, hello, friends. Mark Holmes here with my buddy Cowboy Joe Boo. And as always, thank you guys for watching, commenting, and subscribing to the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, this literally does not work. Let's get open for business here on this Friday morning, guys. It's almost the weekend here, another weekend without football, but we're getting that much closer as we sit 146 days, 11 hours, 14 minutes, and 25 seconds away from kickoff of the 2019 season. I'm excited because in 2 weeks from today, right now, our Dallas Cowboys will be on the clock with the 58th pick. And the question you have to ask is, what are the Dallas Cowboys going to go through and do? Well, here's my thinking, okay? I am not the draft expert like Vosh and breakdown guy or like Foots and things like that, or even E2 Blue. Those guys really know the prospects. I just don't get into college football that much. When they become NFL players, that's where I really look and see what they do and so on. But I do a little bit here and there. But what I do love is I love math. Statistics, probability, and things like that, because you can find patterns to almost anything with numbers. And what's interesting is as we look through at the draft, there doesn't seem to be any rhyme or reason with anything that happens, but you can still kind of find patterns to things. So the question is, now that the Dallas Cowboys have pretty much gone through, after dissecting the team and figuring out what are the places we have the biggest needs. Jerry Jones said it flat out. Running back. We need another running back in the mix. Tight end. Defensive line. Safety. Wide receiver. And we addressed all of those in free agency pretty well. I'm not going to say that anybody is going to be, Hall of Famers or anything like that, but you've plugged holes, because sometimes it's not about having the Pro Bowl player, although we have 14 on the roster. It's about having guys that when you lose somebody else, that you are not going, from the top of the line player to the basement. From Tyron Smith to Chaz Green. And I hate to keep using Chaz Green, but Chaz Green will live in Dallas Cowboy lore and infamy. It's about having a lot of really good guys. So the Cowboys, of course, getting Jason Witten back, we know there's going to be a need at tight end, because tight end has become as important, if not more important, than wide receiver. You see Super Bowl teams that are being led by the tight ends, Gronk, Zach Ertz, and things like that. You've seen the evolution of that, and that was one of the things that was missing in our offense. So, even though we've got Jason Witten, that is basically putting your finger in the dike right now for a year. You've got to think about that situation. So tight end, although tight end, generally speaking, is not a first-round player that often. You may be able to get a guy later in the draft. Wide receiver, you got Randall Cobb after losing Cole Beasley. So we've got that situation. You got Allen Hurns is coming back from injury. You got Michael Gallup. You got Amari Cooper. You've got a log jam right now at wide receiver. Doesn't mean if somebody great falls to you, you don't take them. Defensive line. We lost Randy Gregory. David Irving is out smoking some weed, getting high as could be, because he can't stay off the weed. But you got an improvement, in my mind, in getting Robert Quinn as well as Covington. And, I forgot the other guy, but you got that section taken care of. And as far as safety, you got George Iloka, who is older, 1-year deal, but he's got the body build that the Cowboys truly love. So from those standpoints, you look at the Dallas Cowboys and you say that they have plugged the holes, so to speak, and that opens up the NFL draft. So as we go through and we start thinking about where we are with the draft, where will the Dallas Cowboys fall? Now, for me, safety is key. Safety is one of those positions that's been devalued. Safety is one of those positions that people look at and say you can get a safety later on in the draft. But safety is that last line of defense. And to me, you need a guy who is a ball hawk, a guy who gets the ball. And we haven't had a great safety since Woodson. And, that is the field general. That is the guy who sets the tone and the pace. And you need a guy who's out there. I don't want to say headhunter because that's not in vogue with the NFL anymore, but a guy who can lay the wood, who puts the fear of receivers when they're coming across the middle, that will get that interception, that will make that jarring hit, and that will knock a guy out and just get them to hesitate. And we haven't had that for quite a while. Roy Williams was a flash in the pan a few years back, quite a few years back. But since then, it hasn't really been that guy. Now, as far as safety goes, we're not drafting till 58th. And the question is what will we be able to get at 58? So I am a guy who loves statistics and numbers. I'm not a draft breakdown guy. I don't know the prospects. I don't have enough time to watch enough college football to get into it, because if I did, I'd probably be divorced. I spend all my time with the Cowboys, the NFL, and things like that. Once they get to the NFL, I learn everything about them. So I rely on guys like Vosh, E2 Blue, Foots, and things to break it down. In fact, what I'll do is this weekend, because I believe that the Cowboys will be targeting safeties. Like I said, I'm a statistics and probability guy. I look for patterns. I love numbers, which is why I love building and things, because I can calculate all the stuff in my head. So as we look at safety, and a lot of people will say, 58, you're not going to get a premier guy. Well, I did some research, did some numbers, and I'm old school. I don't know how to do the graph on the screen and stuff yet. But here's what I did, and I hope you guys can actually see this. Let me zoom up a little bit here. What I did was I went through since 2010, okay, to see how many safeties were drafted by 60, okay? This past year, we had 4 safeties taken by 60. The year before, we had 7. That's a lot. That's the anomaly in here. The year before that, we only had 2. The year before that, we had 3. The year before that, we had 0, okay? 2013, you had 5. 2011, 2012, you had 1 taken, 0 taken in the 2011, and then 2010, you had 4. So that gives you an average of 3.8. 3.8%, 3.8 players drafted by 60 at safety. So if everything holds up as normal, you should be able to get the 4th best prospect at safety. You following me along? If you take the average of all, you take these and you get the average, you come out with 3.8. But I will actually give you a little bit better statistic in here, because what you'll notice on my graph, 2010, and maybe I should have gone back further because I'm betting on 2009 that you probably had quite a few of them in there. You'll notice that the graph will go up and down, because when you get quite a few of them taken early in the draft, what you get then the next year, people shy away. So at 2010, which had we're talking about that was a great draft for safeties. Great draft. So when you looked at having Barry taken 5th, when you looked at Earl Thomas taken 14th, Nate Allen 37th, TJ Ward 38, and Taylor Mays at 49, teams didn't need safeties. It wasn't as big a priority. That's why it went down to 0 the next year in the first 2 rounds. Same thing with the next year. There were still plenty of people there. You didn't really worry about it. After that, you see it spike back up to 5. All of a sudden, there's a need for them. Some of the other guys got old, left the NFL. Some guys were busts or whatever. So there was all of a sudden a peak again. But after you have a peak, what happened? We went back down the next year to 0. So, and then the following year, it went up to 3, and then went down to 2. So you have another lull, 2-year lull. You see this? We got a 2-year lull where we had 2 and 1. We had a 2-year lull where we had 0 and 3. Then 2017, we had 7, which is huge, 2 more than any time. And then last year we had 4. So you've had 11 safeties taken in the last 2 years. 11 safeties taken in the first 2 years. So what that tells you is we're due for this to drop back down to maybe 1 or 2, maybe even 0 taken that early. if you follow my logic here. And when you think about how safeties were kind of devalued, how there's still Eric Berry out there and some other players and things, as you see, where teams went through and they ended up getting, the big name. Earl Thomas went elsewhere. All these safeties have been signed elsewhere. The value right now of safeties is kind of devalued like running backs were a few years before. So you're looking at safety probably not being the high priority pick. And I am guessing, this is my educated guess, that the Cowboys will be able to get at least the third best prospect at safety, that there won't be more than 2 safeties drafted ahead of the Dallas Cowboys, following the typical curve. And it may only be 1 safety. So as we start looking at some of these top prospects, like Jonah Williams, I'm sorry, no, excuse me, I'm on the wrong list. I'm sorry, I've messed up. As I've lost my whole list here. Sorry. Here we go. Get it back up. As we start looking at Deontay Thompson from Alabama, bam. Taylor Rapp from Washington. Nazir Azerly from Delaware, or Chauncey Gardner from Florida, or Amari Hooker from Iowa. I say we've got an opportunity to get 2, if not 3, of those possible players will be available by the time we pick, and possibly even 4. Now, if I'm crazy, guys, let me know if I'm crazy or not. But what I'm going to start doing between here and the next few days is start breaking down each of the top 5 prospects at safety and giving us an idea of what I think may be what this person will be able to bring to the thing. And we'll find out if we're going to follow the numbers. This is kind of like Moneyball with baseball, how they went through and used statistics and things like that to try and figure out the equation to the problem. But I honestly believe that safety being drafted follows a pattern, and that we are on the downswing of that pattern. And I believe we'll be able to get at least the third, if not the second best safety prospect in the NFL. And I'm going to be talking to my boys Vosh, E2 Blue, and figuring out who they all believe is going to be the second best or third best safety. All right, time for me to get to my day job, guys. Hope to see you guys tonight. We'll have more on the safety talk on our live stream at 9 o'clock Eastern, and I hope you guys join in.